Welcome, everybody. My name is Nadine Joy, and today our topic is going to be on the importance of authenticity in business and in life. Our topics are, we have three main topics of discussion for our presentation on the panel today. The first one's going to be touching upon the definition of authenticity and how to stay true to who you are, what you do, and who you serve. Second topic of discussion will be how to find, develop, and best express your most authentic self with the utmost of integrity in business, in the workplace, in all areas of your life, including with a colleague, a loved one, a neighbor, or even perhaps just a friend. And lastly, we're going to end our talk today on how authenticity alone gives you a competitive edge in business and actually can bring you more clients. So this is something that not a lot of people have touched upon, and we're going to go into quite in-depth conversation on this. So as we start out our conversation here today on authenticity, I'm so delighted to be here today and so honored to be speaking on this subject that is so needed right now, more so ever than any time in history before, with our technology age and our media, movies, songs, everything that's out there. We get bombarded by all of these images and subliminal messages of how we need to be and how we should be versus how we need to be, and how we're brought up to be is different than who we really are many times, and there's a disconnect between that. So what does it mean to be authentic? What does that mean? What is the definition of that? So being authentic means staying true to who you are, what you do, and who you serve. There's more elements and things that create values and benefits for people who know you, as well as improving your business. And we want to get to the situation in all interactions that we have where there is a win-win situation for all, where everybody wins. So you're authentic, you're real, you show people who you are. This is who I am. What you say is what you get. There's no strings, there's no masks, there's no things that are, any other agendas that are attached to what I'm saying, who I am, and how I show up in the world. And authenticity, when you're authentic and real, it opens the doors to vulnerability. So when you are authentic, it opens the doors for other people to also be vulnerable and authentic with you, which creates human connection between one another, which we're so desperately hungry for right now as well, to bring just this human unity, the unity of people, and bringing them together through this connection of love and peace, and just being able to know that you're seen, valued, and heard. Those are the three things that we desire for so much in our world. And just knowing and living in a way where we are open and honest and transparent, acknowledging who you are, acknowledging your story, acknowledging where you've been, struggles you've gone through, and that builds unity. So this is making us real, and this is what we're talking about today: is how do we become more real, more authentic, more vulnerable in a society that tries to push us towards being somebody who you're not, to just conform to fitting into others and what they expect of you. And I can relate to that, being in corporate. I worked as a geologist for almost a decade, and conform to the way you look, the way you dress, the way you talk, who you surround yourself with, all the way down to what you expect yourself even to be in order to be successful in life. The titles that you have, the education, the awards, all of these things are labels that society teaches you. If you don't have them, you're not successful. So I can tell you firsthand, because I got so sick when I was a geologist that I almost died. I almost lost my life because I wasn't living my true authentic self and who I truly was. And it woke me up to the fact that, I was meant to help people. I was meant to help people transform their lives from the inside out and teach them how to become better people, better humans, better leaders in our world. So I am so honored again to be talking about this to you today and with you today. So being authentic means coming from a real place within, and it's when our actions and words are congruent. So our actions come from our words, and our words come from our thoughts. So when we have our thoughts and our words and our actions that are all congruent, that means that they're all similar or alike from one another. This is where it creates a sense of peace and fulfillment in our life. It is when we have our thoughts that think one thing, and our heart and our words that say something different, that we can create incongruency. And this is where we create, where we're not happy, where we feel hopeless, we feel there's despair in our life, maybe that there's so much more out there that you haven't quite tapped into your potential that lies within. So why is this important? So why is it important that we even talk about authenticity? Why do we want to talk about this? Because particularly right now, the connection that people are looking for, especially in businesses, to interact with one another. There's people out there that need what you have and what only you can give, because we all have our unique gifts. We all have our unique talents, our strengths that we have. And when we're authentic and real, it allows people to show you all of who your gifts and what they are and what you're capable of on a whole new level, versus trying to pretend to be somebody you're not and doing things that might not necessarily be aligned with who you are. I always say, create a mission statement for yourself. What are your values? What are your morals? Take 5 things, write a list down of the things that are most important to you. Anything that comes your way, any clients that come your way, new prospects, new business opportunities, even can be new friendships. Check down that list and see if, is it congruent with who you are. And if you always say, if you check off at least 4 or 5, that's a go. If it's anything less than that, it's something that you thank and you bless and you let them go on their way. And there might be somebody else who they're meant to be referred to that can help them better than what you can. And then it's helping them in a better way, greater way, and also helping you because you're staying in alignment with who you truly are. So again, going back to the win-win for all, this is where we want to be. So there's some different examples of how conversations might look with various people. So a conversation to create greater authenticity with your colleague at work might be focusing on an article you read. It might be an article in, Entrepreneur magazine, or maybe a magazine related to your industry. So you're creating a common ground with them and creating, things to talk about that you both can relate to. With a new neighbor, you might want to focus on, hey, I just went to this restaurant the other day and it was so good. You guys should try it. You should try it. You're new here. I can give you the contact information if you're looking for that. Maybe with your best friend, it might be something a little more intimate. Hey, I ate, too much ice cream or too much cheese or too much of something yesterday and it gave me a stomach ache. And yeah, I never really had that happen before, but yeah, I just wanted to let you know, kind of, that's why I didn't talk as long as I did yesterday to you. So just any of these things, that you're having that are real, these conversations is where we want to get to. And again, the next step is to think about, because we are talking about business here, what would be your next step in thinking about what your ideal customer is and being able to put yourself in their shoes. Who would they want to work with? If you were in their shoes, would you want to work with you? Would you want to be associated with you, looking at you, taking a look in the mirror from a higher bird's eye perspective? Would you want to work with somebody who is like you, looking at the way that you show up right now? And if not, that's fine, with no judgment, noticing the things where you can become more authentic, where you can become more relatable, where you can become more real, to really help them get to where they're going, and also help them see that they're not alone. A lot of people who are suffering and going through things in business and life, first place they go is, well, nobody else understands where I'm at. And I can tell you, I've been through to the most rock bottom of places in my life, and struggles and things that I've gone through. I can tell you that there's a lot of people, and I've talked to thousands of people around the world. I can tell you that there's, millions of people right now that are going through very similar situations to what, each and every one of you are going through right now, because we're all going through something, no matter who you are, no matter what you do, no matter what your age, your culture, your background, what country you live in, it doesn't matter. We're all going through something right now. So let's support each other and help each other and teach each other and show each other and model to each other how to be more authentic and more real, and just really how to speak from the heart and be able to communicate from the heart and be able to really connect with other people on a deeper level. This is what the world needs, is more love, more joy, more connection, and just more grace, having more grace and compassion for ourselves first, and then for all others. So there's a few things, there's many ways that we can become more authentic. I'm not going to go through all of the ways here. If you'd like to have a discussion with me, or hop on a call with to go through some of the other ones, I'm more than happy to do that. But for the sake here, we're going to go through 4 different ways that we can become more authentic. And it might be some areas that you have never thought about before. And it also can be risky. So when we think about being authentic, it can be a risky thing, because we're showing ourselves, we're being vulnerable to the places, the deeper, darker places of our soul. And, most times is the fear of judgment that comes up there, of being judged for who you truly are. And again, I lived in this place for a very long time, for actually 24 years of my life, from age 4 that I was shown in prayer and meditation one day. And when I got to be 28 years old, when I got sick and had to retire my career as a professional geologist and worked my way up to the top of the corporate ladder at a very young age, that I basically was shown at 4 years old, I repressed all of my gifts, all of who I was, for fear of being different and just wanting to fit in with other people. And it wasn't until I got sick and I literally almost lost my life. And I was shown that I lived those 24 years of my life, not necessarily in alignment with who I was, but in alignment with what everybody else expected of me. So when I tell you this, I'm telling you not just from words that I'm speaking, but I'm telling you from my heart that, this is real. These things that we're talking about, these strategies, that they're things I've gone through personally and I can relate to. And I know where you're going. I know where you're at. I know it's not easy. I'm not here saying that it is, but I'm telling you, if I can do this, you can do this too. And I'm here to bring hope. My name actually means hope. Nadene means hope. Joy is my middle name. And I'm here to bring hope and joy to the world, to others, to leaders, to families, to everybody who is here, to helping them create this life that they so desire and tapping into their true selves of who they truly are and why they are here at this time. So we're going to talk about it's harder, we already touched upon, it's harder to be more authentic and real right now because of technology and media and songs and all of these things where we get the subliminal messages from the time we're born. Every single day of our lives, it gets very difficult to become our authentic self. So how we lost our authenticity was when we constantly were trying to balance our inner and our outer selves in order to better fit in. And that goes back to the whole idea of, the sense of belongingness and trying to find a deeper meaning in our life, because we want to fit in. And when we feel like we don't fit in, which is what happened to me, you repress your gifts, you become something, you become somebody, you start creating like this chameleon effect is kind of how I want to call it, where you just fit in, you create these tendencies and characteristic traits of how you are that are different from who you are born to be, but who you've become based on society. So how do we develop authenticity? Like I said, as we started this next section, there are 4 areas that we're going to talk about. Again, there's 20, 30, probably 40, probably even more than that ways you can become more authentic. But for this sake, we're going to talk about 4 of them that I have used in my own personal life, as well as have helped other clients do as well, to become and express more of your authentic self. So number 1, the very first one, is observe yourself objectively to develop authenticity. Learn to observe yourself like a fly on the wall. So I want you to notice yourself going higher and higher, and a perspective that you're looking, almost like you're looking down upon your life, and watch yourself as you live right now, right here in the present moment, observing how you're, so I want to call, there's 2 different types of ourselves. So our adaptive self, this is the adaptive self that I spoke of when I was 4 years old, where I repressed my gifts, repressed all of who I was. I adapted to my situation because I felt like nobody else understood me and who I was. Even at 4 years old, I knew I had a big mission. I had a big purpose in life to make a big difference in a lot of people's lives. Nobody else around me understood that. So I became adaptable. So we look at, and we're going to observe, like you're the fly, observing the fly on the wall and observing this adaptive self, how it behaves, what it believes, also how it reacts under pressure, and how it responds, most importantly, to challenges that come our way in life. Practicing noticing which of these responses feel authentic. So when there's things that come our way where we are challenged, does it feel authentic or does it feel adaptive? So we're going to bring in the whole idea of authentic versus adaptivity. And are we being authentic or are we being adaptive? This is extremely powerful. If you get this concept, if you don't get anything else that I've taken and spoken about today, if you get this concept can change your life. And you begin to notice the falseness that you begin to see, falseness in ways you're acting, the ways you're thinking, the ways you're speaking, and you start to see a glimmer of truth, a glimmer of hope that starts bubbling up, and you start noticing your true authentic self coming and emerging from inside of you, day by day, bit by bit. You start noticing and having the awareness, and that's where change starts. Number 2, so I want you to take a step back and examine your family belief systems that were maybe used and were used to develop your authenticity. Most people were raised in some sort of family style environment during their earliest and most vulnerable years. So all of our beliefs and who we are were formed between age 0 and 8 years old. So I want you to think back to episodes in your childhood, things that you went through. Maybe it was, maybe you had a good childhood, maybe you had a horrific childhood. Maybe there was people in your life, your family members who passed away. Maybe there's trauma, maybe there's abuse. Just kind of think back just for a moment. And again, not to relive it, but just think back to what your childhood was like. Think about episodes that led you to stop being your authentic self and instead adapt to some other way of existing in our world. By examining where our behaviors come from, this is where we can learn a lot about our authentic self. For myself, I have many examples that I could think of when I did this exercise. But one of the things I can remember as a child is where people in my life would raise their voice when they got upset. And there was like this whole idea of thinking if somebody raised their voice, there was conflict. And it's like I needed to just go inward and be quiet and be this good person who doesn't do and rock the boat. So it was all about peacemaking and conflict. So even until a few years ago, if somebody was to raise their voice, it's like my spidey senses would come up thinking there's something not right here. There's something that's going on. And it would cause me to go inward and to literally shut down and put a wall in front of myself, so not allow my true self to be seen, because I didn't want to create any more conflict than it was already being created in my environment through the stress of this person that was raising their voice or getting angry. And my perception of it was like I didn't want to contribute to that. So for up until many years, I lived that way, and that was something that had created the ability to not speak up. I was very shy for many years. I was terrified of speaking, terrified of saying the wrong thing, terrified of creating conflict, judgments, all those things. So those are very real things for me. And that was terrifying, absolutely terrifying. Even as a child, I remember being in the classroom and being terrified to ask, to answer a question that the teacher was asking me. So again, I say I'm here, and it wasn't until I realized that it wasn't about me being in the spotlight, because I've never wanted to be put on pedestals. I've always loved people equally and wanted to be, we're all one, let's support one another. But it wasn't until, and it was in meditation and prayer, again, where I was shown it wasn't about me, but it was about all the people out there who needed to hear what I had to say through my story, through my lessons, through the things that I had gone through. And when I heard that, and I thought, you know what, even if I can help one person, it's worth it. And it gave me the courage and the strength to be able to face my biggest fear, which is doing what I'm doing right now, which is speaking to all of you and being authentic and sharing with you, these are some of my struggles and the things that I've gone through. And I'm a real person, just like you guys are. And if I can do it, you guys can do it too. The third thing I want you to notice, and we have 4, so a third one, and we've got one more, is to notice discrepancies to develop authenticity. So what this means is try to become aware of discrepancies between your actions and beliefs. And we already covered this a little bit. So if you catch yourself making, say, for example, a sexist or maybe a racist comment, or even thinking about that, or maybe a hurtful remark or some comment to somebody or something, or even just something going through your mind, ask yourself whether you really believe the words or the thoughts that are going through your mind at the time, or are you just saying those things or thinking those things because maybe somebody else taught you to be that way, or maybe society taught you, maybe it was something you saw in a movie, who knows what that is. But just taking that time and remembering the adaptive self just wants to fit in, so it can often act in ways that are inconsistent with our authentic self. This is normal. Please know that this is normal. Most people do not realize this depth of what is going on. This is a very deep concept. And like I said, if you get this one concept out of everything that I'm saying, it has the ability to change your entire life. And acknowledging what is true for you now then can better live, so you can better live your life according to the needs of your authentic self. But that kind of authenticity requires, again, self-awareness and also self-honesty. So in order for us to be authentic and real with others, we have to be authentic and real and have the awareness and honesty to be that way for ourselves first. It's like anything in life. We can only do and help others to the level that we've helped and we've done ourselves. Same with love. We can only love others to the point that we've loved ourselves first, which comes to our last and our final number 4 tip of being authentic, is about loving yourself and having compassion for yourself and all others to develop authenticity. because it takes self-love for our authentic selves to emerge. It takes that love for ourselves, that compassion that we have for ourselves, even though we've gone through things, even though we've made mistakes, even though we've done things that we know we shouldn't have done, but we did. And nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect. There's not one person on this entire planet that is perfect. So being gentle with yourselves, allowing your authentic selves to emerge, embedding more love into your life and compassion within yourself. And this is very helpful, even just creating compassion and non-judgmental criticism, again, observing yourself from a higher perspective. One way to increase your self-love is to set aside some time to take numerous deep breaths and just sit in silence every day, just for a few minutes, even if you just start with a couple minutes, taking a few deep breaths, just sitting in silence, and just imagine, your heart opening, and so the front part of your heart is the giving part, the back part is the receiving part. So imagine just, love coming in, you receiving love and also giving love in complete balance between one and another. So next, on our last topic for today that we're going to speak about is how authenticity gives a competitive edge in business and brings you actually more clients. So this is something that I don't know that I've heard anybody else speak about before at any conferences that I've been at. I'm extremely, extremely excited to talk to you about this, because this is something that I've been using in my business now for almost 2 decades. And it has literally changed the way that I look at business and life. There's a saying that goes, I believe that people can't find you and you can't find your people unless you show up as who you are. I have an example. So I'm going to say that again. I believe that people can't find you and you can't find your people unless you show up as who you are. And this is a really important thing to say. There's a few times I created programs and things before I completely knew myself and what was important to me, and none of them worked. So the logic works like this. A potential customer basically wants to find and wants to get a sense of who you are, what you are passionate about, what what makes you frustrated, what problems you like to solve, and how you like to solve them. Might be some questions that they might ask. If they feel drawn to that vision of you, of who you truly are, or they feel you have something that maybe they lack, maybe awareness or something you've gone through, and if you've shared your story authentically, it might be something that resonates with them, where they've been, many years back. That's something that will bring your customers. So authenticity will bring you customers. So 5 reasons to be real. Authenticity is the new, so I'm going to say this very slowly, is the new competitive edge in business. Authenticity is the new competitive edge in business. And this is something, again, this is going to rock your world, because this is incredible. So clients, customers, and employees all share one unique quality, and that is all that each and every one of us, each and every one of you listening, and that will listen to this replay and listen to this for months, years, possibly decades or centuries later, is that we are all human. We are all human. As human beings, we know when someone is being genuine, as opposed to when someone is being, speaking, for example, corporate talk, or saying what you think other people want to hear, just even, mouthing the words, saying things that aren't really from the heart. We all know the difference. We've all seen the difference between somebody who's authentic and somebody who's just kind of playing the part. And you can raise your hand if you, even just, if you feel that, because I know that's something I can definitely relate to, rather than just being themselves and who they are. So one of the greatest competitive edges that we have in business today is authenticity. And professionals and companies that encourage practices based on this authentic truth. So when we're based on our authentic truth, again, going back to when your mind, your head, your thoughts, your words, and your actions are aligned, in alignment with who you truly are, with your morals, with your values, with your business, who you are, all of that is aligned. It allows authentic truth to it will immediately differentiate yourself from your competition out there. And this is something I can attest to over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. So the first strategy we're going to go through is to be your true self. Our feelings impact our decisions. So there's many things that we can do. And some of the things is the take it or leave it approach is some things that I've learned. So one of the things that, when you buy a car, sometimes, you go through the manager or the salesperson, and I have to go check with the manager. And one thing that I learned to say is, okay, this is what I'm offering when I'm buying a new car, take it or leave it. So the whole idea of take it or leave it allows us to really become more incorporated in, here's my true self. This is what I'm willing, like, why bother with the back and forth? Let's just be real. Let's be upfront right from the front. Accept me or not. Either way, that I'm okay with that. Either way, I'm okay with, if I'm being my true self, that I have no attachments to wanting to fit in or be a part of that group, because I know that what I spoke or what I said or what I'm working on or what my business model is or the program I'm offering or whatever that is in life is completely aligned with who I am. And when you're in complete alignment with who you are, your authenticity increases, your confidence increases, your ability to connect with others increases, and there's a win-win for everybody. Everybody wins in that example. So 5 reasons to gain in this competitive example edge, 5 reasons to gain this competitive edge through authenticity. This is according to Michael Blanco-Splon. So the first one is authenticity unites human connection, ignites human connection. So human beings are complex, they're electromagnetic. They're based on energy increases when we're honest and we're genuine. We actually attract people. We attract, our vibration raises to a whole new level when we become authentic, when we become genuine, when we become aligned with who we are, when our thoughts, our minds, our words, our actions are all aligned, our vibration starts to increase. And when we have that love for ourselves first, we start just emanating purity and emanating truth. And that's what attracts people to you and wants to work with you and work with your business. Number 2 is authenticity opens the door to vulnerability and unity. And we talked a little bit about this earlier, but when we are vulnerable, we drop the false trappings of the title. And this is where I lived for almost a decade as a Jello, the title, the status quo, the formality, the things that society tells you need to be, how you want to act, all of that. Human beings want to connect, living in a way that's open and honest, even while acknowledging your shortcomings and mistakes, is life affirming and builds unity. So great leaders show their humanness, dropping the corporate guard and also standing with those who are being led. So number 3, authenticity allows you to learn about others, including your customers. So when you're authentic, we actually get to learn more about other people and learn more about the real part of who they are and the struggles that they're going through. So it opens doors. It opens, letting fear be the guide as opposed to love and compassion. When we become afraid to open up, we focus on fear versus love. So fear, I always say, is just the opposite of love. It's just love turned upside down. So when we have that, we just want to move towards our fear. And when we move towards our fear graciously, we allow and open the doors to love and to knowing people and knowing others, even knowing ourselves on a deeper, more meaningful level, which creates rooms for others to also do the same. Leadership is best delivered by modeling what you seek from others. So be the model, be the change that you want to see. We've heard that quote many times, be the change you want to see in the world. And number 4 is authenticity moves you into the present moment. So it takes you from the past, which leads to depression, and the future, the fear of the future, which leads to anxiety, and brings you into the present moment, which brings peace and creates real-time connections. And here you're better able to make informed decisions and enlightened choices, and ones that uplift you and support others as well. So again, the win-win situation. When you live in the present, you experience one interaction, one thing at a time, despite the disruptive nature of a rapidly evolving digital world. And lastly, authenticity changes your world perspective. When you no longer need to hide behind what others want you to be, what others want you to say, and others want you to do. You put aside falseness and the lies and open up to a world that is endless with possible, infinite opportunities. So I just encourage you to try it. You might like it. Step into the full version of yourself and who you truly are. So ending this presentation today, I just encourage each and every one of you to be authentic, to be real, to step into all of who you were made, who you were born to be, and let go of anything that might be in the way of standing into and stepping into your true authentic self. And being authentic, being real, telling your story. There's power in our story, being vulnerable, allowing yourself to really let those masks down, to create those human connections, to speak from the heart, because we're all so hungry. People are so hungry. They just want to be heard and know that they're seen, they're valued, and that they matter and they're appreciated in some way, shape, or form, and that they're not alone. So taking time out each and every day to reflect on that, taking time in meditation or prayer and silence, taking that time for yourself to give back to yourself first. Because when you give back to yourself first, when you're authentic with yourself first, you're able to also be authentic with others, with the world, and just create that positive impact for so many people. So thank you so much for the opportunity to speak on authenticity. I wish you well and blessings, and may you have a wonderful, blessing, prosperous, abundant, and wonderful business and life and connections, and creating the balance that you so deserve. And so just appreciate all of who you are, all of who you are. Thank you so much.